I'll keep my comments brief. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions for me after this last stretch. For the most part, I liked the way we played tonight. I didn't like the second half, but I told the guys we're going to correct that tomorrow. As we found out, it's tough to win basketball games. Winning is a lot more fun than losing. One of our core values is joy, so I told the guys to enjoy this win tonight, regardless of how many mistakes we made in the second half, and we'll correct a lot of what we need to correct tomorrow. So it certainly feels good to win. Again, I felt like I was in the Sahara Desert looking for water this last stretch, and a lot of our mistakes, and I'm sure you guys have some questions, are self-correctable, and a lot of them were self-inflicted over this last stretch. I thought we took a step in the right direction, regardless of the opponent tonight. Just to see the ball going a little bit, to see our defense get some stops and work together as a team was good to see. But we still have a long way to go. And as you guys know, building a program is challenging and it's tough. You have to have patience, and I don't have a lot of patience. You have to have a vision for what you're doing, regardless of the bumps in the road. Our fans, I'm sure, are very upset, and I would be too if I was a fan of this program right now. But there is a belief within these walls of where we're going and what we're building. It's just going to take some time. And Coach Hamilton texted me 2 days ago after our last loss, and he's been great throughout it. Just give me perspective. He reminded me that there was a year I don't think it was his first year, but a year early on in Miami, where he went 0-18, and I think they won a total of 7 or 8 games on the season. So he said, I know what you're feeling of trying to turn around a program, trying to figure it all out all at once. And then he reminded me that 3 years later, he was, I think, Big East Coach of the Year, National Coach of the Year. I believe they won the Big East Championship. So it can turn. Even in the darkest days, you have to have a belief in what you're doing, a belief in your team, a belief that you can help them improve, that your staff can help them improve, and a belief of where we're going is a lot better than where we are right now.
During the losing stretch of 5 games, was it tough to keep guys engaged isn't the right word, but basically focused on the end goal versus what the scoreboard said at that moment?
Yeah, it wasn't. To me, it wasn't tough. The most difficult and challenging part of a losing streak like that is a combination of holding the standard of what the standard for the program is, and bringing some positivity. The players feel the same way the coaches feel, the same way the fans feel. It's just not good enough. And the more you think about it, the more you feel like you're failing, the harder it is to move on to the next day. So to me, we push our guys as hard as possible in terms of our practice intensity, in terms of the standard is what the standard is. We had one of our assistants brought up I believe it was Kelvin Sampson. I'm not sure what coach did this, but you just have a treadmill run the entire practice, and as soon as a play is below your standard, whatever that means, it could be effort, it could be no communication, it could be hanging your head when you make a mistake, it could be turning the ball over in a careless way. You just got a minute on the uphill treadmill, and it is physically demanding. And so it reminds them of, number one, we're going to be in great shape, and the way we want to play, you have to be in great shape. But number two, there's consequences in basketball and in life when you make poor decisions, and you don't understand the difference between, at a bare minimum, this is what we're going to do every day. And so that side of it was fun. I feel like I truly became a college coach. I don't think you can do that in the NBA. But it was a good point in the season in terms of, for our staff and for our players to understand, when you play below a certain standard, you will get embarrassed. And we went through that. And hopefully we don't get back to that point this year, because we've seen when you just scrap and play hard, even when the shots don't fall, you can compete with really good teams. We saw that in the preseason. We saw it early on in the season. And we let go of the rope a little bit. And that's one thing, as long as I'm coaching here, I won't allow. And I told our players, if I see it on my staff, I will replace them. We cannot have quit in us. And over this 5 games, I saw several instances throughout those 5 games where we had quit. And it's just one thing I can't stand for. Listen, I wasn't the greatest player. I was very average, but our teams won because we didn't have a lot of quit in us. We lost some tough games, but there was never points where we're just like, it doesn't matter. We'll just move on. Can't do it. And so that's been the biggest message, while still remaining positive and hopeful that this season can still be turned around.
How hard is that though? Because you came in, I think, with 6 freshmen when you were a freshman.
Yeah.
And you all grew together, and Tony leading you. But it was 12 guys all together, or 10 guys all together for multiple years. A lot of these guys don't know each other. So
Yeah.
how hard has that been? How hard is that in this modern age of college basketball to build?
It is challenging. It's very challenging. It's one of the other areas we focused on. We just felt like these guys we got a great group, like great human beings. One of our coaches the other day said, like, almost every guy on the roster I would trust babysitting my kids. Like, they are great people. They're nice, they're polite, they like each other, but I felt like they didn't really know each other. And it's been great to have a Christmas break where you don't have class all day, because we had some sessions where it was like we forced these guys, no phones, you look each other in the eyes and get to know each other. And that part of it, it's a little cheesy, but to me it pays dividends with these guys of like, okay, now I know you. Now I know what makes you tick. Now I know how to talk to you, what motivates you. Even for our staff, we learned things about our guys that we didn't know. And I think that part of it, to your point, our teams here, and I hate going back to my playing days because it's not about me, it's about these guys. But our teams like genuinely cared about each other. They loved each other. We would take a bullet for anyone on that team. But that came from a lot of time, spending time together, communicating, hanging out off the court, like really getting to know each other. And that's a challenge in this day and age, because the reality is, if you're lucky, if you're fortunate, you have 4 or 5 guys return. If you're super fortunate, and I don't know how many programs even had that in the ACC. So it's a speed dating course of like, not only we gotta get to know each other, we gotta care about each other, because the best teams, you can tell, are connected on and off the court.
You mentioned there being several things that you talked about were self-inflicted and that you believe are correctable.
Yeah.
Was there, when y'all went back and maybe looked at the film, the totality of the 5-game streak, is there something that you point to and say, all right, that we can fix going into ACC play?
Yeah, to me, there's about 20 things. I'll hit the highlights really quickly. Our transition defense was abysmal. Our paint defense was atrocious. We couldn't keep anyone in front of us. We were getting blown by left and right. And then our shift defense, our gap defense, was even worse. It was like the initial defender would get blown by, which is already unacceptable, and no one was there to help him. And then even worse than that, our rim protection was totally out of position. So either it was just a complete wide open layup or dunk, or foul. We put Dayton on the line 47 times, and it just boiled down to we didn't contain the ball and we didn't shift behind the ball, and we were so out of position we just fouled over and over again. Those 2 things defensively were so incredibly poor that you can't beat bad teams playing that way. And so that's been our focus the last couple of days of, number one, you got to have some pride of sitting down and keeping the ball in front of you. Again, even bad defenders, just if you have an ego, you are just going to slide your feet, you're going to know where your help is, and you're going to send them to your help. And then the help's got to be there, and you got to plug the gap and force that simple one pass away. And then the next guy's got to help the helper, and it's 5 guys working together to keep the ball out of the paint. And that's where efficient defenses are really good. You look at the best defenses, both at the NBA and college level, they do an unbelievable job of containing the ball, but then helping the contained guy behind the play. So that to me, we gave up way too many just easy, like they're going to make them 10 out of 10 times, both in transition and in the half court defensively. We gave up, I think, 483 points in a 5-game stretch, which is absurd. And then offensively, we when the game gets tight, we have a lot of guys, again, that I feel like are good guys and they care, but they try to do it on their own. When the game gets tight, that's even more so of how can I get a shot for the guy next to me? And that is contagious. When your focus is, I'm gonna get you a great shot, and you're thinking the same thing, all of a sudden you get unbelievable looks. And I felt like in this stretch, we had way too many isolated possessions that strung together of, I'm just gonna go do it on my own because I wanna win. And that is what digs the hole even further offensively. And then when you're not getting stops and you're fouling, it's really hard to play the style we wanna play in terms of our pace. Everything is take the ball out of bounds. Everything is off of a free throw. Then the other team's subbing in defenders to press you full court. You essentially turn into a walk it up team, even if you want to play fast. You have to be able to get stops, string stops together, and then play simple basketball in the way we want to play in terms of great pace and great space.
Look, how much, you touched on it at the beginning, but how much did this team, you said you were in the Sahara looking for water, but how much did the team, the players just need a win?
Yeah.
And even against a not great team, obviously, can that spark confidence just to go out and play well and dominate like that?
Yeah, I think it can. There's a crazy thing about, momentum and belief in something. I don't think we have, and I told them if you don't believe it, like, guys, you can go home. If you think this season is a wrap and we're just going to take, what everyone said about us, that you're going to be dead last in the ACC, we're not good enough to play at this level, feel free to not be a part of this team anymore. But in terms of what you said, we needed a win, and we needed one badly. And now you got to use this little momentum to turn it into Jacksonville. And then we get a little break that you can reset. And then there's a gauntlet standing ahead of us, which we're all aware of. Again, I believe, because I've seen it with my own eyes, that we can keep up with anyone in the country if we're playing the right way. I also have seen when you play the wrong way, you're going to get embarrassed, because we're not going to have more talent than many teams we play. So we have to play a certain brand of basketball in terms of our intensity, our defensive effort, our connectedness, again, creating shots for each other to have a chance to just be in the game. But again, when you get some momentum, I'm gonna keep going back. My senior year, we were 9-6. We lost to Harvard. I think we scored 12 points and a half against Harvard. We lost in triple overtime to Princeton. We lost 2 Ivy League teams. We were 9-6. I believe we I don't know if we got blown out at Clemson, but it was a terrible loss. And it was tough. We had a ton of seniors that for us, that was like our last chance, right? And it felt a lot like this stretch, like we couldn't get anything right. But then that group galvanized. That group came together because we had a lot of grown men in the room. They were like, we're not going out this way. I brought that up to a couple of our seniors today. I can sit up here and talk all day. Coaches can tell you all their stories. It's got to be you guys. It's got to be you guys that care about this season enough to turn it around. And as soon as that happens, we're going to be a pretty good team. I don't know if we're going to win 20 games in a row, but we're going to be a pretty good team. And at minimum, we'll be in every game. And it's going to be a 1, 2, 3 possession game that we can live with. We can go home and sleep good at night saying we fought.
On a team with 10 newcomers, and I mean, you talk about the seniors and how when you were a senior and it really does have to be player-led. Does it have to be an upperclassman? Is it possible to be does an upperclassman even mean anything anymore?
Yeah, I think it still does, and we talked about this in film yesterday. I said, for you 6 seniors, this should mean something to you, because it's the last time you will play college basketball. It's the last chapter of your life before you go on and do whatever it is you do, whether it's play professionally, play overseas, move on with your life, whatever, you will remember this season. And it can be good or bad, but honestly, it's up to you guys. The biggest thing is, and I talked mostly to the freshmen and Martin and those guys, but at some point you will be sitting in their shoes. And so your whole job right now is to send those guys out the right way. You should be playing your balls up, playing your balls off for those guys in the room, all right? Because at some point you're gonna be a senior, and some little messed up freshman is gonna be getting in your way of having a great year. And if you don't treat it the right way, you're going to be looking at them the same way they're looking at you. Like, we need more. I get you're a freshman. You're going to make mistakes. Because our freshmen have to play. They have to produce. They can't just be on the team flow through their minutes. Our minutes were bad. No. You have to produce for this team to exist. And if you need motivation, just turn to the guys next to you. This is their last chance at college basketball, and it should mean something to you. And I think it struck a chord with them. And maybe it didn't, but just the way Cam played tonight, it was like he shot out of a cannon. And I don't know if that was his motivation. He had some substance to him tonight. If Cam Miles plays that way for us the rest of the year, and he doesn't have to score 15, have 6 assists, but just with that energy and that spirit and that soul, we're going to be a really good team. We cannot have games where all 3 of our point guards foul out. It just can't happen. We cannot have games where Chauncey Wiggins has 2 rebounds in 2 games. And I told him that. He's a heck of a player. And I still believe in him. We can't have games where LeJay Jones he's just chucking guys because he's pissed off. Like, you have to produce. But it has to be, what is your motivation? Is it just to go play professional basketball? To me, the best teams care about each other and they want each other to succeed. And as soon as that happens, man, I'm telling you, hopefully this happens. This team can take off in a positive way. But it has to mean something more of just like me. How can I help this other guy succeed?
Coach, you mentioned about the texting with Larry Hamilton. You can expect more little details about what kind of word of encouragement that he's been giving you even throughout the losing streak. Like, what is some like the best advice that he really gave you throughout?
Yeah, the good thing about coaching is it's a pretty small fraternity, and some coaches hate each other. Most just want each other to do well. And the cool part about having Coach Hamilton and the relationship we have is he cares about me, and I care about him, and I will always take his advice. And he sat in my seat several times in several different programs. Obviously Oklahoma State, Miami, he had to completely turn around that program, and even here, it was when he stepped into the seat here, the program was in a tough spot, and it takes time. Even beyond Coach Hamilton, though, there's been so many coaches. Even Frank Martin reached out as a coach, not only coming up in Florida. He remembers me coming up through Florida as a high school player, and he gave me some great advice of like, I still remember my first job in college and how challenging it was because everything was new. You're coaching guys a different way. It was flipped for him. He was coming up from high school. I'm coming down from the NBA, but the challenges are still the same. You're trying to figure out how to motivate, trying to figure out how to help these kids individually on and off the court, and then you're trying to galvanize a group that barely knows each other. So all of those things, I'm grateful for a lot of the older coaches in my life. Mike Brown sent me a message the day they won the NBA Cup, and he just said, above all else, be yourself. You're going to make mistakes. Be yourself and be positive. As soon as you go negative, the whole group will go negative. Great advice. But I'm enjoying this because I'm learning so much. I didn't enjoy losing 5 games in a row, but I probably learned more in that 5-game stretch about coaching and about leading than at any stretch in the last 10 years of coaching for me, which I think is going to be really beneficial for me and our staff in the long run.
Coach, with you losing 5 in a row and then coming out and building such a large lead in the second half, what were you looking for, and were you pleased with how they executed in the second half?
I was not, and I'll keep it at that because we're going to enjoy the win, and we're going to clean that up tomorrow when we watch film. I think our guys are well. I told them in a few timeouts, we're playing below our standard, and this is how you get embarrassed against good teams. But I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. I'm going to enjoy this win, and we will certainly correct that tomorrow. I will tell you, the players came up with this at halftime. They wanted to keep the opponent under 40 points. I think that's 17 at half. They came up with that number. They scored 49, and they're going to come up with a punishment for those 9 points extra that Mississippi Valley get. The best teams are self-disciplined, and they hold each other accountable. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they come up with as their punishment for those 9 extra points. Thank you, guys.